All right, welcome back, folks. Welcome back, everybody. As I told you, we're going into the RMRs and the content side of the RMRs with full strength. It's not going to be just videos with casters and other broadcast talent just talking about the RMR. We actually have a legitimate player here. I mean, we're going to do a normal interview like we always have been, but we're going to chunk in a little bit more details about the RMR as well and the up-and-coming travels to Shanghai. I'm really happy to welcome Tauson on the panel. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Currently on GamerLegion, preparing for the RMR. You joined just recently, I guess you could say, like 2 months ago. So yeah, thank you for taking the time. And how have you been?
I've been good. It's been 2 good months for me. We've been playing good Counter-Strike, I would say. So we're looking forward for the RMR, and we're ready to perform.
Excited to travel to Shanghai, by the way, because first of all, shout out to you for jumping in, because you literally told me that you're flying out tomorrow from the day that we're filming the interview, and we did it kind of like a last second, but just outside of the CS part of it, are you excited to be going to fucking Shanghai? Because this is China. I mean, it's a completely different culture. It must be feeling nice, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun experience. Never been to China before, and never been flying like for so long. So it's gonna be fun, of course. And yeah, gonna meet my teammates for the second time as well. We've just been boot camping, so yeah, I'm very excited and
Uh,
excited to play my first RMR as well.
how do you feel about, obviously we don't want to jinx it, right, but the possibility of players that go to the RMR, the guys that qualify, so if you qualify or when you qualify, because it's a good charm being on this show, you might stay in China for like a month and a half. How do you feel about that?
I've never been like that long away from home, so it's gonna be like I don't know how I'm gonna react.
Yeah.
But I like being away from home. I like visiting new places and being at like new spots. So I think it's gonna be fun. Gonna miss my mom and family, of course, but that's part of the game. So I'm ready for it.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is part of the game. We're gonna get to
Yeah.
that. We're gonna get to that later on. But I think we can get it going now. How we do things here on this show usually is we started off by starting from the early days of your career. So the very start of you getting introduced to Counter Strike, and then we constantly, like, well, not constantly, but we slowly work our way to present day. So uh please do let me know, how did you, what is your first interaction with Counter-Strike, or what was your first interaction with Counter-Strike? How did you get introduced to the game?
By my big brother. He bought the game on his like little laptop he got from school. So it was not a good running Counter Strike we played, but it was decent. It was decent. So yeah, I was around 8 years old when I got introduced to the game.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I think when I turned 13, my mom bought me a PC so I could play for myself. So I didn't like I could only play when my brother wasn't at the PC. So I only played maybe like I don't know 4 hours a week or something. It wasn't much.
Sure.
So yeah, I got my first PC when I was 13, and then I didn't look back, and I kept grinding.
Just to clarify for everyone watching, when you were 8 years old, that was actually 2013. You're a pretty young man yourself. That's crazy, by the way. I'm getting old now. I really am. But 2013, CS:GO was already out. When you started playing, were you feeling that cultural part of it in Denmark? Because a lot of the guys that I've spoken to, and a lot of the even older guard players, started playing in computer clubs with their dads and their big brothers when they were like in 2004, 2005, 2006. Was that a part of the culture back then as well for you? Was it something that you could see everyone around was doing, and it's just a popular activity, I guess, in Denmark?
Um, Not for me at least. I've always been like a outside kid. So it was really like when my big brother got a PC that I actually started playing.
Sure, sure.
Um, but like my cousins also played a lot of computers, so when we were at like that place, I always played a lot and I always loved it. So yeah, you can kind of say it. Yeah.
Okay, and another thing that I'm really curious about. So you start playing around 2013, let's say. When did you get introduced to the esports part of it? Because it kind of feels like it's inevitable to live in Denmark and not get introduced, considering you guys even have it at school. And that was right around, let's say, a couple years after that. There was the Danish teams like Copenhagen Wolves, like SK, then turned TSM, then turned Astralis a little bit later on. So when did you find out about that part of it?
It was my big brother's friend. He like showed me at Dignitas game when the Virus Dupree and all these players
Okay.
played for the um, and then he like told me this is their job. They actually live by playing CS, and I was like, what? Can you actually earn money and play this for a living? And then I realized like this is what I want to do. When I was like 10 years old, I think it was.
When you were 10 years old, so you had
Uh,
like you had no other did you have one of those goals when you're a little child? You know how every kid is like, I want to become a footballer, I want to become an astronaut, I want to become a policeman or whatever. Did you have any of that, or your first was, I want to be a professional Counter-Strike player?
my first was for sure I want to be a CS player. That was like
Really?
the first one. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I played football, but I was never that good that I could go pro or anything. But like when I knew about the professional scene on the CS, I was like instantly, that's what I want to do.
And did you go and just tell your parents all of that? And how did they react when you told them, well, 10 years old, you're just walking into the room, hey mom, hello, I'm not going to uni, I'm gonna play CS, I'm gonna become a professional gamer?
Yeah, I think when I was 15, when I got my like first pro contract,
Yeah.
that's when they like realized, okay, he can actually make it. He can actually maybe make it. And that's also where I like told them that this is like what I want to do. Yeah.
And you've never had another job breeze through your mind, like when you were a little bit younger, when you were going to school, was there a moment when you were like, well, you know what, I'm gonna give this video games thing a go, but I might become an IT, for example, or anything else? Or it was just Counter-Strike all the time?
I've thought about being a lawyer, but you have to be very smart.
I mean, come on, big
And
up
yeah,
yourself, you
yeah,
can still
yeah.
be very, very smart.
I could have. I think if I actually was dedicated to my school like a lot instead of playing CS that much, I could probably have done it and didn't drop out of uni, of course, and high school. Then I
Oh,
could
so
have.
you did go to uni. What'd you study?
No, I dropped out of high school. Um,
Okay.
yeah, to play full-time CS.
Okay, you dropped out of high school. I would assume that's a little bit later on. You talked about your first professional contract. I guess we can get to that. It was a team which name starts with a J, which I can't pronounce for my dear life. So can you help me out? Is the team you played with Staehr on, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's Europe.
Europe. Yeah, yeah. I
Europe.
wouldn't.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
gonna butcher it.
Yeah, that's the team where I played my first HLTV game. Um, Back then we didn't like earn any money,
Hmm.
but we were on a contract and we were a real team. We played. I think we made it to SEC Advanced,
Hmm.
or did we? I don't remember. But we were a decent team, and from then on I got picked up by Barry.
Yeah, you got picked up in QBF. That was
Yeah,
the Barry project.
exactly,
Talk to me
exactly.
about early days. How did you assemble that? Say that again, please. Say the name.
Yeah, Europe.
Europe. Okay, it kind of sounds like Europe, by the way, but in just a Danish way of saying Europe. How did you assemble the lineup? Because it's fun because a lot of you younger guys, and yeah, I can say you younger guys because I am unfortunately a little bit older. When you play at the start, for a lot of players, the case is you play with a lot of friends that are, living in the area, or you go to school together and whatever, and then in the end of the day you become a professional player, and everybody else on the team is someone that just played for a little bit and they walked away from the scene. You actually played with Staehr on your first team. How did that happen?
Actually, good question. Now I need to think back. I think we had some like common friends,
Hmm.
and then we ended up in a team together. And then we like since then we have just been very good friends, and we are still talking good today. Um, so yeah, it's a nice relationship with him, and I've known him for like 4 years now, and he's a really nice guy. I love him.
Okay, that's wholesome. And another bonus one before we get into Barry and QBF and all of that, where it really gets serious. Did you play any different roles back then? Because there's a lot of guys that started off as like, let's say, I want to be an Oper, I want to be an IGL, and then they transition into other things. Or some guys that start just with rifles and then pick up something else. Or you've always played the same, I guess, type of Counter Strike that you are playing nowadays.
I think when I was 11 years old or something, I wanted to be an Orba. Then I quickly realized that I'm not good enough,
Watching
unfortunately.
Device with Astralis, and you're
Yeah,
like,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly, exactly. Then I realized my rifle is much better. So yeah, I have always been a rifler when I've played for teams. So yeah.
Okay, I think we can move to the Barry conversation now with Quantum Bellator Fire, and a lot of people would recognize QBF's name with their run at a couple majors, right, around 2017, 2018. But that was the Russian lineup of QBF, right? QBF actually had a Danish one. So
Yeah.
how did that come about? Was Barry the one to reach out to you to get you picked up?
Yeah, he watched my games, told me I got talent, and I should come play with them. And he would make me a much better player than I am. And yeah, I trusted him and joined the team, and he's helped me a lot. Even now, I'm always like typing with him. Sometimes I'm watching my games with him. He's a very supportive guy, and yeah, I love him for that.
What would you say? Because early on, like when you get picked up by QBF, this is around the time when you're like 16, right? That's 2021. So you're still pretty young. So what were the most valuable things, the first things that you noticed you were supposed to do different, and the first things that Barry taught you in terms of maybe how to be professional, how to act accordingly? What was there something difficult for you to get adjusted to in comparison to just playing with a team that didn't really have too much expectations of it, and there wasn't as many experienced guys?
Mm, Well, I think he basically just taught me like in the start. He just taught me like all the basics in CS, like what you should do on the server and off the server.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, like I came from a team where we just played like we didn't really have any structure. We didn't really play like a team. We just played face it really. So he like taught me the team wise of CS. Yeah, and helped me develop as a player in my early days. Yeah.
Do you feel like, because you mentioned you played football, and Counter Strike is still a team game, do you feel like there's a correlation between the two? Do you feel like the fact that you played football, even though you were quite young, actually helped you in the team aspect of the game?
For sure, actually. I've played football since I was 4 years old, so I've always been like on a team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that helped me, of course. Like I knew what like supposed to be in a team, even though I was only, I think I quit football at 12. But like I've always been on a team and always, yeah, love to play for teams. I'm a pretty huge team player. And I hope my teammates will say the same, of course.
Uh, yeah, hopefully. I mean, you've been on the team for 2 months. No, nothing crazy's happened, so apparently you're doing a good job. It's a bit of a tangent, this one, but I think it's an interesting thing to get your perspective on. What do you think are the biggest, I guess, the hardest things in terms of being on a team? Which is the most difficult thing? Let's say we're not talking personally about you. I mean, you can give me an example from your career as well, early days, if you were struggling with some part of the team aspect, building up the atmosphere and getting used to everybody else. But in general, because there's a lot of guys nowadays, a lot of younger guys that just spend a lot of time on Face It up until they get like 3.5k load and they get picked up by a team, and then when they go on a team they don't really know how to behave with their teammates, how to be professional and all of that. So what do you think is the most important thing for someone to be a quote unquote good team player? What do you understand by a good team player in Counter-Strike?
I think, like personally for myself, I think it's important that you like can handle everyone on the team. Like it's not only about you. Like you have to realize it's the bigger picture. Like yeah, it's not only about you, and it's not for your own sake that you play. It's actually for the whole team. Even though it's I would say a pretty like personal sport like CS, even though
Hmm.
it's a team. Um, yeah, like just understanding that your team have to win. Uh, how do we say it? Yeah, like your team have to win if you want to be a better player.
Sure. If the
Because
team if the
you
team plays better, you're gonna play better.
yeah, like exactly. You can have the good stats, even though and yeah, you can have the good stats, but if your team are losing, it doesn't really matter in the end. But yeah, to come back to your question, handling everyone in the team, being able to understand everyone in the team and making space for everyone is like the most important thing I would say.
Okay, and you've never had problems with that.
Of course, like there are always some personalities on every team. Um, yeah, some are more than others, but yeah.
I am asking that as well because I'm curious onto because I just have the feeling that Barry's the ultimate scout machine. We're going back to the Barry conversation now. He always seems to be pulling you guys, young Danes, out of a hat like rabbits, like a magician pulling out rabbits from a hat. Uh, I want to ask you on your opinion on Barry in general. Now we're not talking only about your days on QBF, obviously, but you worked together on Sprout after the fact, and I assume he was the one to reach out again for that project when you were part of the academy, then got promoted into the main team and whatnot. What do you make out of Barry? Why do you think his scouting seems to be that on point? What makes it special if you really know what he does to pick all of those players?
I think he's really good at seeing, like he knows what he wants, and he like when he sees a player, he's really quick to like see that he has potential.
Mhm.
Uh, I remember he did it with Sejot, who plays for Endpoint now.
Yeah.
And he just like he explained to me very well like why this guy is actually really good and why he has a huge talent. And it just makes sense. And when I played with him in Sprout, I could also see it. He was really talented, and again, his scouting experience has, I don't know, he has been scouting people since, I don't know, 2000 or something. This guy is 40 years old or something. Um,
Yeah.
so like he has a lot of experience.
Mm.
He knows what he's doing. Yeah.
Okay, he knows what he's doing. This is a good way to put it, I guess. So you play on QBF a little bit. Now after that, there was a couple years in which you were just constantly changing teams, right? We're gonna distinguish it up until the moment before you joined Sprout Academy. So up until Masonic, was that just because I don't know. Things didn't seem to work out with a lot of the organizations, and there was a lot of chaos. Or how was it through your eyes, all of that experience? Because usually, especially when you're a younger guy, you'd rather stay on one team and learn with them and grow with them. What were the reasons that you were constantly just moving from one project to the other?
Like before Masonic.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, well, at that time I was going to 10th grade, and I wasn't that focused on my CS. I was more focused about my real life.
Hmm.
Um, I got a lot of new friends, and like that was my main focus at that time. And then when I went out of 10th grade, I joined Masonic and realized like yeah, I needed to be focused more, and I needed to log in, you can say, about CS again, if I want to make it actually, because it's like my big dream to play professionally, and yeah, to play on the big stages and play the majors. Yeah.
Did you feel anything changed when you joined Masonic in terms of the way that you were approaching things? Maybe even on a mental way, the way that you were preparing, the way that you were going into officials, the way that you had your philosophy for the game, for example.
We were pretty like we played a pretty loose style on Masonic. We didn't have a IGL at that time, so it was kind of like everyone had to put an effort
Hmm.
if we wanted to win. So everyone had to call. Everyone was in charge of like when we had Furies, we had to all come in with things. So I actually like that way of playing. It's not just an IGL or a coach coming in every morning and telling you how to play. You actually
Sure.
need to, you know, make your effort and bring your own ideas. And actually, when you bring your own ideas, that's also when you play better because you know exactly what you're doing. So yeah.
Would you call yourself a vocal player, by the way? Because you're speaking about bringing in ideas. Do you find yourself someone that's really opinionated on the way that the team should be playing?
Yeah, for sure. Uh, as said, like I also played for Static, my most recent team. We didn't have IGL either there. So
Hmm.
again, you have to be vocal. You have to make your own plans. You have to make your own theory. So yeah, I would say, a pretty vocal player.
And
Who,
have you ever had troubles getting on the same page with someone else, especially in the Danish scene?
mm, I wouldn't say so. uh, I don't feel like I have any enemies. Or I don't. I hope so
I
that
mean,
no one hates me.
we're not saying enemies. It's just sometimes policies for the game differ, and someone has to take a bit of a hit
Yeah.
and be like, "Yeah, you know what? We're gonna go with your way, even though I have a better view." Like, have you ever had a difficult time with that?
Um, I don't think so. I think I'm pretty open, even though I know how I want to play CS.
Okay.
So yeah, I listen to people. I'm pretty open to criticism. That's how you say it, right?
Yeah.
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 Okay, so now we can move to a really important, really pivotal part of your career, I guess. The moment when you decide that it's time to move on from Masonic and you actually join Sprout Academy, which was a really interesting one because you decide to go international, and you mentioned that Barry probably played a big role in it. But was that something that you consciously wanted to do, go and play on an international English-speaking team, and was it difficult for you to adjust to it?
I mean, my English is all right. I wouldn't say it's the best. I had a moment earlier here in this talk here, where I didn't really know what to say. So it happens sometimes that I don't know what to say.
Hmm.
But I think it's like my English is all right. But yeah, like back then, there wasn't really any Danish teams I could join.
Hmm.
So I was kind of stuck in between like quitting CS or actually going international.
Okay, so that was a possibility. There was a possibility that you would quit Counter Strike.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, going back to school and trying to live a normal life. Um, but again, I'm not the type of guy who gives up. Uh, so I stayed in the game and I joined Sprout Academy and yeah.
How'd you feel about that project? Because from like I did an interview on this channel some time ago with Feed, and you worked with Feed for quite a lot. He was the first one to tell me that you were going to become a really good player. I'm gonna shout him out here. Yeah, that was a long time ago. But how did you feel going into that project, considering Sprout now sadly does not exist anymore as an organization, but used to be one of the most respected organizations in the tier 2 scene in Germany in particular. But how was playing on an academy team different for you, considering you're going in, you have a Serbian coach, you have a lot of nationalities on the team? Did you find it maybe difficult to get accustomed to it all?
I think like it's harder to get on the same page on international teams in the start than
Hmm.
on national teams. Because like in Denmark, we have like a certain way we play, and it's of course different to other countries. So it's kind of a big mix on how you want to play in the start. But like when I joined Sprout Academy, I was so hungry to prove myself. I just wanted to get as quickly as possible on the main team. And I did that in, I don't know, 2 months, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so that was a very nice feeling, like getting the confirmation that I'm actually good enough to play here.
I am curious. Now, I know we already spoke about Barry, but we spoke about him and his coaching ability in particular. But working with Barry and Feed, because this is something that personally interests me actually. Because as I told you, I've known Feed for a long time. And I really like him as a coach and as an assistant, obviously, and I really like Barry as a coach as well. So, can you explain to me how the working process was with those guys? What were their biggest strengths, maybe?
I would say they were really good at working together, finding players for both teams. Um, I think they talked almost every day about the game and like watched our demos from the academy team and the main team demos as well. they were always just talking CS, and they were always on the TeamSpeak talking. So they were like, you could feel they were really working hard.
Was that giving you an extra bit of motivation, by the way, seeing how the coaches are just living in the game 24/7? Did it make you take things more seriously too?
Yeah, for sure. It made me stay on the TeamSpeak and play even more, and watch even more demos because they were on the TeamSpeak. So for sure.
Okay, and if we have to speak about Sprout, because obviously it was a little bit chaotic for you then, right? Because you get promoted from the academy to the main team, then you go back to the academy, then again to the main team. There was a long period of I guess a bit of an emotional roller coaster. How did you get all of that? And by the way, why did it happen? That's the one thing I couldn't understand at the time.
Yeah. So I got promoted. I played for the main team for 2 months, and I think we had a period where we had an official game every day for 1.5 months. Like we didn't have a single break.
Hmm.
So that kind of drained me, to be honest. But then I got back to the academy team for 1 month. Then they loaned Syphon to Heroic,
Hmm.
and then I got promoted again. And I played for the main team again for 1 month. And then they told me that they wanted to do changes. They wanted to have a team ready for the major, and they don't think that I'll be on the team when they
Hmm.
make that roster. And then I was like, okay. Or that, like, I think they told me there's a 10% chance or something that I will stay. And then I was like, okay. I'm not gonna try and risk those 10%. I'm gonna try and find my own team before the major
Hmm.
qualifiers. And that's when I joined Team Secret.
I am quite interested in how you're taking that. What's going through your mind when you get informed by it? Because obviously it feels like even though the decision was made, you took it really nicely because you're still in good relationship with Barry, a lot of mutual respect with Feed and stuff like that. So it feels like it's not a decision that was made out of bad blood or whatever. It just feels
No.
like it was on paper practically this is the best decision we feel like for both sides, but through your mind, because at the time you were what 18, maybe not even that, maybe 17. You're a really young, emotional guy that is gone into well. I'm not saying you're an emotional guy, but you know how it is when you're a little bit younger, right? You're eager to prove yourself. So,
Yeah.
what was the thought process? Was there any key things that you wanted to, I guess, elaborate on a little bit more? Think about what you've done wrong, what you've done right. Was there some main things that you were able to identify that maybe led to you not staying on the team then?
I think like the experience thing was kind of a big deal for them. They wanted
Okay.
people with more experience than me, which I respect. Like I really respected that decision. I didn't think it was wrong by them. Or, of course, I have to think it's a bit wrong. But yeah, I respected that decision, and I was kind of mad about it. But I was pretty sad. I thought this was my big opportunity to prove
Hmm.
myself in the international scene. But I also realized that I could learn from this, and I could
Hmm.
like look further for my future. Because like again, I was 17. I have a long career ahead of me. So yeah.
And last question before we move on from Sprout. That Sprout team that you played on was actually quite fun. I mean, you're looking at a lineup that was you, Zyphon, Rouse, Spook, and Wonderful. And I want to start it off with was it I asked you already about Barry, but how is Rouse as an in-game leader? Because from my perspective, Rouse looks like one of the most experienced guys that you can get on a tier 2 team, especially when he's Danish as well. Did you find it a little bit easier playing on the team when you have that core with him and Zyphon?
Yeah, for sure. Barry and Ralph, they have a really good relationship, and they know how like what they want and how to work. So like they know what to expect from me, and I came on the team and just did my job, I would say. Um, yeah, I like both of them. They are good persons.
You're almost too humble. I'm trying to provoke you to tell me something. Be like, I wanted to be a star player, but those guys kept me in the anchor positions. That bloody Rouse wanted all the spotlight for himself.
Nah, I would say like I was an anchor player at that time. I was kinda like the dog on the team, you could say.
Yeah, you were doing the labor, all of the things that
Yeah,
no one
exactly,
else wanted
exactly,
to. Yeah.
exactly. Now I'm playing on GamerLegion though. I'm playing more star roles, so I'm happy for that.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. Don't you worry.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I've played many roles, and I'm pretty happy that I've actually played a lot of roles. Like I've played anchor star roles. When I was 11, I played AVP, you know. But yeah, so I'm happy that I have all that experience.
You know, there's a really, I don't know if you can relate with that because I used to play football as well when I was a little bit younger. Um, when I used to be, because I used to be a midfielder at some point, but the coaches would always put me in different positions that I didn't want to play, and they would tell me, "You shut up and listen. That's gonna help you get a better view of the game." And then after you spend a couple months playing different positions and you've played everything on the pitch, and you come back to your position, it helps you better understand everybody else. Do you feel like this is applicable in Counter-Strike as well? When you've played different roles and now you're playing what you're comfortable with, do you feel like that makes it easier for you to be a good teammate because you know what your teammates need and what they think and how they react to certain things happening to them in their respective roles?
Yeah, exactly. And I think I can also help my teammates with certain things because I have played all these roles. Um, so yeah, I think that's a huge factor.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
I want to elaborate a little bit on that, and I'm gonna put it in a really awkward way, and I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to answer that, but I'm gonna give it a go because
Okay.
I'm really interested
Let's
to see
try.
if you
Let's
can
try.
tell me something. Uh, can you describe to me what is the most, I guess, the most important quality that an anchor should have? What does an anchor need in order to be successful in the game?
I would say the most important thing for anger is to be like kind of ice cold. Don't be stressed. Uh, Play what you know you're good at. Play the positions you know you have like the highest chance of killing people. And yeah, just some rounds you need to be quiet. Some rounds you need to take the space. And some rounds it's very important you don't give up your life. That was many quotes, but I hope you can use it.
Okay. And how do you no, I'm not asking because of that. I'm genuinely asking because I'm interested in it. How does a younger guy on a team get used to playing the as you called it? I love it when you say you were the dog on the team. But being the dog on the team for a younger player is sometimes really stressful, right? Because you're open in HOTV, the ratings are not always going to be the highest, and I know that a lot of people on teams really don't give an F about the ratings, right? But some people do, right? And some younger guys look at the numbers and are like, well, I want to up the numbers a little bit. So how do you deal with that aspect of the game? Is it just you saying, you know what, as long as the team wins, I don't really care?
I think in the start I was pretty sad about my stats. Um, but then again, I learned that it's not only like for your own sake, it's actually for the team that you do these things. And again, I'm a pretty team player. Like I would say, I'm a team player. So if the team wins, I'm happy. And then yeah, I can maybe have bad stats, but yeah, that's how it is.
That's a
When
really
you
good
play those
mindset.
roles.
That is a really good
Thank you.
mindset. I support that fully. This mindset alone, or the lack thereof, is the only reason that my home scene, the Bulgarian scene, is in shambles. Because we can't have that mindset. No, I'm not gonna jinx it now. 500 are actually playing alright. Okay,
Yeah, they
so
are.
Sprout doesn't work out. Talk to me a little bit about Secret, because Team Secret came back into Counter-Strike for the first time since 2019 with that lineup that you were part of. And it was really, I'm not gonna lie, it was an incredibly random lineup. I didn't see it coming. I love Anarchist, by the way, as a player. He was actually one of the first players that I interviewed on this channel like 2 or 3 years ago, and I think he's a lovely guy. But talk to me about Secret in for a little bit. How'd you feel about that team? How did that team come around?
I got asked by Texans, who was the manager in Copenhagen Flames.
Mm-hmm.
He was building this project with Team Secret and wanted to know if I was interested. And yeah, when he asked me, I was just I moved back to the academy team. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's give it a shot. So yeah, I went to that team, and it was alright. I liked all of the people I played with. I just think we never found the chemistry on the server. Yeah, pretty sad actually, because we actually had a great relationship, all of us, and had fun outside the server.
Hmm. And
Um,
could you
yeah.
elaborate on what stopped you from finding the right formula with that team? What do you
Yeah,
think you were lacking?
I think we just had like too many different ways of playing CS mixed into one. Um, I had my style of playing.
Okay.
Maze had his style of playing, and the same with Kindo and the rest of the guys. So it was just like too many different ways of playing CS, and we couldn't really agree on how to play like different scenarios and what we wanted on our defaults, and yeah, it was just a mess in the end. So yeah.
Could you try and give me a little bit more detail? I know this is usually something that players don't discuss, but I guess it's a team that's already dead, so we can speak a little bit about it. Can you try and give me an example of, let's say, a different? What were the differences in your view of how the game should be played? Whether you can give examples with some defaults, approaches to the game, and the way that, for example, Mace saw it, because he was the IGL, right?
Yeah, I would say again, I've used to play on like teams where we play pretty loose,
Mm-hmm.
where the players need to take control. Um, and I think that Mace took a bit too much control and
Okay.
took a bit too much power of the other players.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that's not the, of course, the main reason why I think it went all bad, but
Oh no, no, it's just out of curiosity, right? Because
yeah,
because a lot of people do say that they're like, we weren't on the same page, but I find it quite refreshing when someone is a little bit more blunt than that, and they just give a little bit of, you know,
yeah,
information to back it up. Even that is enough, right? Saying I'm used to being a little bit more freed up, mid rounding a little bit more from the IGO, giving some space for the players, and someone else is a little bit more micromanage or whatever. This is a great way to put it, I think. So
yeah.
that ends up dying as a project, as you said. It never really clicked. There was some good moments, but then you go back to playing with Danes again, and it was on an organization that is, I guess, one that I've really respected for the last couple of years. Ecstatic, right after the old lineup gets brought out from the Gaming Gladiators, you join in the team, and you're joining in the team with a couple familiar faces like Crystal and Alele, but then with a couple younger guys like Nut Nut and Nixon that were coming in from Sashi and their academy team. What'd you think about that team as you were joining, about the players? Did you know any of them previously?
Yeah, I played team with Lele for 2 years
Hmm.
in Masonic and
Oh
in
yeah, of course,
Atlantic.
Bar and Alele. Did you know anybody
Uh,
else? Yeah.
exactly. I knew Crystal. I've played a lot of Faceit with him before.
Hmm.
But the two other players I never really played with. Um, so it was like fun meeting two new guys, and yeah, I think we had like a good mixture of experienced players with new players. Like Nixon and Nutnut, they are very, very skilled, and I think they have a high skill ceiling, and I think they can go really far because of their talent. So yeah, I think if you give that team right now with TMB, I think if you give them 1 year, I think they will be top 30 for sure.
Top 30. Okay,
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
that's a big statement. But you know what? I back that. I quite recently went onto a bit of a monologue of how sick I think Nut Nut is, not only because of the nickname. But yeah, it was a fun conversation to be had, and then I guess it was a little bit disappointing because the moment that you got approached by GamerLegion, Ecstatic was actually starting to work out. Even though now you're saying that no one was actually a dedicated in-game leader, was that really the case? I told Lele was calling.
No, we didn't have an IGL. Uh, I mean, Crystal liked to call himself the IGL, but
Okay,
I don't think he was.
okay.
um, but like he was kind of like the dad on the team. I would give him that. Um,
Maybe that's because you used to play with MSL on Nord, right? That's
yeah,
something that
maybe,
he's kept
maybe,
from MSL.
maybe, yeah, maybe. But it was kind of like a family team. Everyone liked each other. There was no beef in the team. It was just a good a good time from start to end.
Okay, okay. I really like that. Because you know, I did a little bit of digging, and I found out that in the Danish scene, you know, both Nixon and Nutnut were regarded as, you know, the next big things coming out of it. So I'm happy that you saw it that way as well. And then we get to the, I guess, most interesting part of it all. We get to how you go into GamerLegion. So what was the process like? Who reached out? When did they reach out? How long did it take for you to get on the team?
Mm, it was Ash who wrote Aesthetic, or I don't know actually who wrote Aesthetic, but someone from GamerLegion did.
Mm-hmm.
Told me that they wanted to try me out. Ash had watched some demos of me, and he really liked what he have seen. Um, so Aesthetic gave me the green light to play. I think I played for 4 days with them, like tryouts. It went pretty smooth, I would say. I went in and did my thing. And yeah, I ended up on GamerLegion.
How'd you feel about this, by the way? Because you get back on a Danish team, and then GamerLegion come out. Was there a moment of hesitation for you, or it was like, well, GamerLegion are reaching out. If I can join, I will join in 100%.
I feel like it was a kind of no-brainer for me to join
Yeah,
them. Even though I felt so comfortable in the last team I played for, it was like I couldn't say no to them.
yeah.
I knew it was a huge chance for me to prove myself again. Um, yeah, it was just yeah, I needed to prove myself. I could feel.
Okay, and one thing I'm really curious about is the entire, because I've had that conversation with a couple people now, but I want to talk a little bit about Ash because I'm not gonna lie. In my honest opinion, I've always liked Ash's scouting approach. I guess I think he might have had a couple misses in the last couple of months, but everyone does. I honestly think that he's on the right path to success right now. What was your what were the initial talks with him like? Did you have that type of conversation with Ash and ZTR where you would get explained exactly what's going to be required of you on the team? The fact that, for example, as you said, you used to be an anchor player, now you're getting a lot more freedom. You're being a quote unquote star player on CT sides. T sides, you get to be a bit more of a pack player, so you get some freedom. Were those things that were predetermined, or this was something that came around as an idea as you were already playing with them?
No, I had a talk with him before I even started playing with him, like how I see the game and how they
Mm-hmm.
see the game. So we already like at that point got kind of on the same page with like what we expected from each other. So yeah, I think they give like the good how do you say it? Like they take space and I can also take space. It's like a good harmony, you can say.
Okay.
About everyone again can contribute to the way we play.
Okay, and coming back to it, because you say you initiated it as well, do you feel like you're just in that point of your career where you believe more in yourself, and that's why you want to take more initiative on T and CT sides in comparison to the early stages in your career?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
What was the yeah, that's all right. I'm just curious about whether you just felt like it was time for you to take more initiative now that you feel a little bit more comfortable. Is that a comfortability thing? You being like, okay, you know what, I know what I can do. I know I can go and play those roles and bring in the impact in comparison to early stages when you were a bit more supportive.
Yeah, for sure. Like I feel like I have the experience now
Hmm.
to take the space and take the initiative. Uh, for let's say like 2 years ago, I didn't feel like I had that. But now I feel like I've played for decent teams and played decent tournaments that like I can allow myself to do it. If that makes sense.
Okay, and did it feel, by the way, I just wonder about that as well, because at certain points of your careers, yourself, Flamus, who's still an entry and a bit of a star here, Zetyar used to be a really proactive IGL on a lot of his teams, and Volt used to be an entry as well before. So at times, does it feel a little bit like there is some clashes, or everyone's happy? And the bonus to that would be, is there people on the team that are helping you out with the transition to being a star player with some advice, even though you're fairly similar age and you have fairly similar experience?
Yeah, like for sure the coaching staff, IMD and Ash is helping me a lot. Like they're telling me to get a bit more ego and like make myself like loud and tell them what I want. Even though I feel like I'm doing it fine now, but they're telling me like I can do it even more. But like in terms of the roles, I feel like everyone understands the roles, and I feel like the roles make a lot of sense. Everyone understands like what they're doing for the team.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the roles makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so going into GamerLegion, you play two CCT tournaments. Well, actually, three of them, but the last one
Three
we're
of them.
not really counting because you
Yeah,
just
we
lost
don't
it to
talk about
Gun.
that one.
Yeah, we don't
We
talk
don't
about the
talk
Gun
about that.
5 game. We don't talk about Gun 5, man. They're crazy. But you lost the first one to Bad Boom after you won 3 or 4 games, but you beat some good teams like Bait, like Aurora, and then the second one you actually won. You were able to take down the Drillers. You were able to take down Bait, Nine Pandas, and Passion UA. Technically, you're taking down 4 teams that are playing the RMRs, even though the Drillers, a European team playing the Asian RMR. We're not going to get into that conversation. But you still beat 4 teams from the RMRs. So do you feel like, how do you feel the team was functioning throughout that? Obviously, you're going to say everything was working out, but just in general, the fact that you were able to play against the maybe on paper higher echelon teams that you're used to and everything worked out. How is the atmosphere in the team right now after those results?
I think like this is T1 and the final we had like just brings us a lot of confidence before the RMR.
Mm-hmm.
We have had like a break now for 1 month where we haven't played any officials. So I think like and in that time we have been of course practicing and working on new stuff. So I think we're gonna come in very hot to the AMA with some things that people have never seen before in our playstyle.
Okay.
So yeah,
Does that
watch
come
out.
primarily from Ash or from Ash and ZTR?
That's from yeah CTR, IMD, and Ash for sure, and of course some of us play other players. Um, but yeah, I think we are very ready for what's coming.
Okay, that sounds good. And lastly, before I ask you about your opinion on who you're going to be playing, obviously in the opening round and the RMR in general, talk to me a little bit about ZTR as an in-game leader, because I feel like his story is a really interesting one because he got that early shot, really early shot at being the IGL for NIP, but things didn't work out. Can you feel, even though he's really young, can you feel the amount of experience when you're playing with a guy like that? How is he like as an in-game leader and as a person to have on the team?
Yeah, like he's I think he's 21 and he's a very mature guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also feel the experience when you play with him. He know what he wants. He knows what to expect from his players. Yeah, I really like playing with him. He's I would say top I wouldn't say top one, but top two callers I played with. Um, for
Just
sure.
between you don't want to throw Rouse under the bus, do you?
I don't want to throw him under the bus. I don't. But he's very talented, and he's very good, and he has a bright future ahead of him.
Okay, and another one. I mean, now we can move into the RMR and in the major in general. But you are heading into your first LAN event internationally because you've played a lot of LANs in Denmark, but this is going to be your first international LAN event, right? I'm not wrong.
You're a bit wrong. You're a bit wrong.
I am a bit wrong. How am I
A
wrong?
bit wrong. I
Are we
played.
counting the missed games as a proper international LAN event?
I mean, I played something called Fire League in Barcelona with
Okay.
teams like Pain, Imperial,
Oh, that was
Spirit
on
was there as well.
Masonic, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly, exactly,
Right, but
exactly.
that was a long time ago. That was 2022 or whatever, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 2022. It was.
Okay.
It
Yeah, I
was.
actually remember the event. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my first international. So it's my you can say third or second. Yeah.
Okay, but how are you feeling before? Do you have some stage nerves, so to speak, going into that event, or you feel like now that you've played a couple rounds, even though it was 2 years ago, you're good?
I think I have been to so many Danish lanes that like I'm pretty used to play on lane. I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty used to people like Apex screaming at me. yeah, I'm pretty used to all of that. So
I mean, you're
yeah,
not gonna get it because you guys are playing from the hotel rooms, so
yeah,
he's
that's
not
also
even
true.
gonna get to
So
scream at you, right? That's the worst part about it all. I wanted to see him
yeah,
scream.
yeah, I wanted to see like yeah, I'm pretty sad about that as well actually. That you are not like you cannot see the opponents you're playing and you cannot hear them. That's a bit sad. Because
Okay,
like for me that's a part of playing a lane. Yeah, like yeah, it's sad.
okay, and in the preparation for it, by the way, and this is a bonus question to what we were talking about, Ash. Do you feel is Ash really the biggest nerd that you've played with? Is he really looking into all the numbers, all the nades that you're throwing? Is he the guy that's gonna go to and be like, hey, you know what, your flashes suck, you need to work on that?
Yeah, for sure. He's a very detailed guy. I think you can just watch his YouTube videos. That's says a lot about him. I would say he's a very detailed guy. He loves to work and like I think almost every day he writes to me on Steam and sends me around. What are you doing here? What is this flash? What is the smoke? Something like this. So yeah, he's working for sure.
Okay, and I would assume this is a new thing. I would assume that you haven't worked with coaches that have done that like to this detail before.
I would say Barry is kind of the same.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, I think like those two have a lot of similarities. Yeah.
Okay. And to round it out, we have first of all, there's a bit of a bonus thing actually before I ask you about the Vitality game. There was an update to Counter-Strike 1 week ago, and everyone is saying
Yeah.
that the game feels better and the shooting is better. Do you feel that?
I don't think I realized there has been an update, to be honest. I think I missed that one.
But you
So
didn't feel the difference in the way that the bullets were
I
connecting.
no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I
Okay,
don't think so.
we can just forget about that. You know what? You play your official games. Let us plebs worry about the updates.
Uh,
But yeah, well, how are you feeling going into the Vitality game, man? That's gonna be a big one. You're playing your opening, your first chance to actually qualify for a major, and you get to play against Vitality on LAN. How's the expectations of the game? Are you confident
mm,
that you can beat them? It's a BO1 in the
yeah,
end of the day.
we are very confident. Especially because we have had this break for a month, so they don't have anything on us. Um, yeah, we are 5 people who's very confident right now. We have had a good practice, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, we just came from a boot camp that went all right, I would say. I had some injuries, unfortunately, with my hand, so we
Oh.
had like 2 days off because of me. A bit sad. But yeah, we are confident. We're ready. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, confident, ready, calculated. I think that's a good that's a good place to actually put an end to it. Thank you very much for coming over. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. And as a last thing, what I do is I give the player the opportunity to just send a message. I mean, you can say something to the people that are supporting you. You can say something to the people that are supporting GamerLegion. You can say something to Vitality and tell them, "Hey, you guys, you have no chance," or whatever. So yeah, the mic is yours for the next 30 seconds.
Thank you, thank you. First thing, watch out Vitality. We're gonna smash you.
Okay.
Second thing, remember to watch the games and support the major, because we only have these tournaments 2 times a year. So it's important that everyone sees the major and watches it. And yeah, just give like as much attention to this tournament, because it means a lot to all the players. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gents. That was Tauson. Make sure you go and follow him, but he's not an influencer. He's not a broadcast talent. So I
No,
mean,
unfortunately.
it's better to actually watch the official games. This is how you can support him. Just watch GamerLegion. Cheer up for GamerLegion. Cheer up for Tauson. Thank you very much for coming over. It was a pleasure, and I'm gonna see you guys really soon again. Bye bye. Stay safe.